Picture yourself finally landing that six-figure job, the one you've been working toward for years, $100,000. It sounds impressive when you say it out loud, right? You start doing the math in your head. That's $8,333 per month. You could finally afford that decent apartment. Start investing seriously. Maybe even think about buying a house. But then your first paycheck hits your bank account, and you see $5,844. Wait, what? Where did the other $2,489 go? You refresh your banking app 3 times thinking there's been some mistake. There hasn't been. Welcome to the brutal reality of taxes and cost of living in America. My name is Seb, and I'm obsessed with calculating how geography completely transforms what your money is actually worth. If you're tired of generic financial advice that ignores the fact that $100,000 in California buys way less than $100,000 in Tennessee, hit that subscribe button. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how your location choice might be costing you $48,000 in purchasing power every single year. Before we dive into the breakdown, here's an uncomfortable reality check. A century ago, $100,000 meant genuine wealth. Today, as individual income, $100,000 puts you at the 77th percentile. Legitimately good, but as household income, you're only at the 57th percentile, barely above median. In Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Maryland, a $100,000 household income is actually below the state median. The goalposts have moved, and most people don't even realize they're playing a completely different game than their parents did. Let's start with what happens before any state gets involved. You earn $100,000, the federal government takes its cut, and you're left with $78,509. That's your baseline everywhere. Federal income tax of $13,841, Social Security at $6,200, and Medicare at $1,450. This is where everyone starts, whether you're in Wyoming or Hawaii. Now here's where things get interesting. 9 states have decided they don't want any piece of your income. Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. These states let you keep that full $78,509. No state income tax whatsoever. You'd think that automatically makes them the winners, right? Not exactly. Let's talk about the states that barely touch your paycheck. North Dakota takes less than 1% of your income. You're losing maybe $800 to state taxes. Ohio hits you with about $2,000. Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Indiana all fall in that $2,000 to $3,000 range. These are the states that say, we need some revenue, but we're not going to kill you for it. Then you've got your middle-of-the-road players. Colorado, Utah, Mississippi, Kentucky, North Carolina. They're all hovering around 4% effective tax rates. You're paying somewhere between $3,700 and $4,000 in state taxes. Michigan, West Virginia, Arkansas, they're all in that same ballpark. Oklahoma sits around 4.25%. Wisconsin pushes it to 4.61%. You're starting to feel it, but it's still manageable. Idaho charges you $4,693. Alabama and South Carolina both take about $4,800. Here's where it starts getting painful. Massachusetts, despite its reputation, actually only takes $4,780, about 4.8%. Illinois charges $4,813. Georgia's at $4,831. Montana comes in at $4,793. These coastal states everyone thinks are terrible, they're honestly not that bad at the $100,000 level. Kansas hits you for $4,915. New York, and this surprises people, only takes $4,952 in state income tax. That's less than 5%. Virginia charges $4,979. Connecticut rounds it to exactly $5,000. Maine pushes it to $5,255. California. Everyone assumes California is the worst. You're paying $5,310 in state taxes on that $100,000. High, definitely, but not the highest. Delaware's actually worse at $5,259. Iowa charges $5,361. Minnesota takes $5,349. Maryland varies by county, but you're looking at around $4,576 plus local taxes that push it higher. The real pain? Hawaii at $7,046 and Oregon at $7,960. Oregon wins the prize for highest state income tax on a $100,000 salary. You're giving up almost 8% of your gross income just to the state. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Those tax numbers are only half the story. Cost of living is the silent killer. In Mississippi, your money stretches like crazy. That $100,000 feels more like $117,925 in purchasing power. West Virginia, Kansas, Oklahoma, your dollar just goes further. You're getting 10% to 15% more bang for your buck. Tennessee becomes the sweet spot. 0 state income tax, cost of living 10% below average. Your real purchasing power? About $86,767. South Dakota, North Dakota, Indiana, Ohio, they're all playing the same game. Keep taxes low, keep living costs reasonable. Then you've got the middle ground. Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Your $100,000 feels pretty much like $100,000. Pennsylvania, Arizona, Iowa, same deal. Utah and Colorado are interesting. Moderate taxes, but cost of living is creeping up. Your $100,000 starts feeling more like $90,000. Oregon hits you from both sides. Highest state income tax at 8%, cost of living 10% above average. Your purchasing power drops to about $63,755. Washington State is the opposite. No income tax, but Seattle drives costs up. You keep more of your paycheck, but everything costs more when you spend it. Alaska throws a curveball. No income tax, but groceries cost 25% more. Your $78,509 take-home operates with only about $63,281 in purchasing power. Now let's talk about the really expensive states. New Hampshire seems like a deal. No income tax on wages, but property taxes are almost 2% of your home's value. New York hits you with $4,952 in state taxes. But the real issue is 23% above average cost of living. Your real purchasing power drops to about $59,270. New Jersey might be the worst overall. You pay $4,180 in income tax, face the nation's highest property taxes at 2.23%, and your real purchasing power drops to about $64,382. California is the punching bag everyone loves to hate. You lose $5,310 to state taxes, bringing you to $72,780 take-home. Cost of living is 44.7% above average. Your real purchasing power? About $50,297. Your $100,000 feels like $50,000. Massachusetts is worse. $4,780 in state taxes, $73,310 take-home. But cost of living is 46.9% above average. Real purchasing power, $49,904. You're working for half your nominal salary. Then there's Hawaii. You pay $7,046 in state taxes. You're down to $71,044 take-home. Cost of living is 84.6% above the national average. Your purchasing power collapses to $38,485. Your six-figure salary operates with less buying power than someone making $40,000 in Mississippi. The gap between Mississippi and Hawaii is $79,440 in real purchasing power from the exact same salary. That's not a rounding error. That's life-changing money. Think about it this way. If you take that job in Hawaii making $100,000, you need to understand you're really making $38,485 in actual buying power. To match what you could buy in Mississippi, you'd need to negotiate a salary of $260,000 in Hawaii. Same lifestyle, different price tag. Wyoming might be the actual winner. No income tax, low property taxes, and cost of living only 4.6% above average. Your $78,509 operates with about $81,857 in purchasing power. The Midwest quietly dominates this game. Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin. They're not sexy, but your money goes further. The South splits into winners and losers. Tennessee, Texas, Florida, winners on purchasing power. The Northeast is brutal across the board. You're getting destroyed either by taxes, cost of living, or both. The West is mixed. Wyoming wins. California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, you're paying premium prices for premium locations. Here's the math nobody wants to hear. Tennessee versus Hawaii over a 30-year career? That's $1.4 million in difference. Not in salary, in actual purchasing power. Same gross income, completely different lives. So, there you have it. The same $100,000 salary delivers completely different outcomes based on where you live. Tennessee gives you real purchasing power of about $86,767. Hawaii drops you to $38,485. That's a $48,282 difference from the same gross salary. Here's what you need to remember. Federal taxes take $21,491 everywhere. That's your baseline. 9 states have no income tax, but they recoup it through property taxes, sales taxes, and fees. Cost of living matters more than tax rates. You can pay 0 state income tax and still end up worse off than someone paying 5% in a cheaper state. The gap between best and worst states represents roughly $1.4 million over a 30-year career. And here's the reality check. $100,000 isn't what it used to be. You're at the 77th percentile for individual income, but only the 57th percentile for household income. In 7 states plus DC, 6 figures puts you below the local median. Look, nobody's saying pick your home solely based on taxes. Quality of life, family, career opportunities, they all matter. But you need to understand what you're choosing. If you're moving to California because you love it, great. Just know that choice costs you about $36,000 per year in real purchasing power compared to Tennessee, and plan accordingly. The uncomfortable truth is that where you live might matter more for your financial future than how hard you work. A $100,000 earner in Tennessee will build more wealth than a $130,000 earner in Hawaii, purely from geography. Your brain wants to anchor on that $100,000 number. 6 figures sounds impressive, but the question isn't, am I making 6 figures? The question is, what does 6 figures actually buy me where I live? The choice is yours. Just make sure you're choosing with real numbers, not the anchoring bias that 6 figures creates in your head. Your future self will thank you.